Oh,
and play bishop d3 first.
I forgot to press.
Afastando.
Now we probably go live. Maybe in the video we will see everything we recorded so far. Anyway,
Hopefully.
yeah. So bishop takes f4 was played. Well, he takes f4. Yes, now it works.
I'm going to a very interesting question, like castle or bishop d3 first, preventing f5.
So let's do a quick recap of what happened so far. Ding with white played c4, e5, knight c3, knight f6, the English opening, knight f3, knight c6, e3, which is a sideline. Now bishop b4, queen c2, bishop takes c3, b takes c3, going for a complex middle game, d6, e4, castles, bishop e2, and now Jan played a move that probably is not so common in this position. I'm guessing it's, yeah, people like to play all sorts of different moves, but knight h5 is the main line, so he played knight h5. And now Ding played for the center with d4, and knight f4 by Jan Nepomniachtchi, bishop takes f4, e takes f4, and it's white to move. And we have already a position that's not so balanced. I'm very happy with the type of positions that we get.
Oh, finally, right? So you need to have some action in this game, and Ding has to play for a win. So something creative probably is coming. You have two very, very creative players when needed. So it could be fun.
Yes. So in this position, after e takes f4, what can we hope for? We can expect to see castles, right?
Castle's f5, so I would play bishop d3 first to prevent f5 maybe. But on the other hand,
If I still play it,
I take
queen e7,
king f1.
and then let's say I attack the pawn here, or if on f7.
Rook f1. Trying to figure out if I have the entrance to, or maybe rook b1 is a little bit annoying here.
b6, bishop e4,
Bishop e4.
bishop f5, yeah.
Queen a4. We also have bishop f5.
I'm not sure if bishop d3
Yeah, but
helps.
bishop b5 will not help because of a6 probably.
Rook b5, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, rook b5, a6.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. So the only move that comes to mind is g4, but then I can just take and go to this endgame, which probably is not
Slightly better for black.
not bad, yeah. So let's get back to what's going on here. Probably castles will be played. We can assume. Let's see. Yes, castles was played. f5 is the move to check. And now maybe White wants to do some c5 stuff or bishop c4. I don't know. How can you play for an advantage, if at all? I mean, e5 is another thematic attempt. Yeah, we have to take
d5
and d5. Yes.
Moves like e4 even could.
Sorry.
Takes b6.
Yeah.
No, b6 bishop d5 gives it like.
White is a little bit active for
No, like in this position, I think it's white is way more active because you have a problem developing your bishop after rook d1, rook e1, bishop d5. You're kind of stuck.
Yeah, so this could be an idea.
Right.
e5 after f5. Another idea that comes to mind is some c5 move, but I'm not sure how.
I think the problem with this is gives the option for the black to play d5 when needed. So f takes e4 and
No,
d5.
d5, yeah. No, black is fine. Yeah, probably more than fine.
The question is like some ugly.
Although, like, This structure is not necessarily that bad for white. Like queen c2,
Bishop f5.
queen b3.
Queen b3.
It's not the worst thing in the world.
Can you go back without bishop f5? Maybe even trying g5 or something.
Yeah, bishop b3.
Queen e7.
Yeah, rook e1, knight e5.
Yeah.
It's a game.
It is a game. It is a game.
So both lines seem valid to play for an advantage. Probably f5 is not the move. That's what I'm trying to imply. But what else? I mean, white doesn't have a threat if black doesn't play f5.
Yeah, the question is like
So
developing slowly. What will happen? So queen f6 was played.
yes, black wants to control this e5 square, and probably to play g5 sooner or later.
On the other hand, it's also like a solid game is something that's better for Jan right now.
Yes. Then b6, knight f5 can be played. Put the bishop somewhere.
Bishop on a6, and then you're harassing the pawn on c4, which is quite classic in those type of pawn structures.
Yes. So, like for an example for an idea would be to push pressure on this pawn and play c5 later on.
On the other hand, it also like if we take into consideration that it's game 4, Ding is playing with white and he's one game down. Like usually you're like we're joking about the Soviet system as draw with black, win with white.
Mm-hmm.
This is what Ding will be trying to do. So it is going to be interesting.
Yeah. I'm sure people who didn't hear about the Soviet system also figure out that they should try to win with white.
On the other hand, it backfired to Ding a little bit.
Yeah.
And game number 2.
Although Ding also gets a lot of wins with black when he plays against low-rated opponents.
He's just a strong player, right? That's the thing.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at Giri, for example, you may argue that Giri doesn't win as many games with black as Ding.
You can argue that Giri does not win enough games also. On the other hand, but and is just a very, very solid player.
Yes. It's interesting because growing up, he was a very sharp player. Anish Giri, he was playing he was very efficient at beating low-rated opponents. Like I think part of the way he climbed 2750 was by being very efficient at beating 2600s with both colors, and then at some point he just shifted. Like most players do in this level.
And they also start playing only within people within your own rank.
Yeah.
Which makes it way, way harder to win.
Yeah. We have a move. Rook f1.
Just playing solid. Meanwhile, you want to either put the bishop back on f1 or put it on d3 at some point, right? You need to take into consideration that moves like bishop g4 will be coming as a development move.
So maybe rook e1 is aimed against bishop g4. Maybe there is an e5 idea. I'm just thinking to myself.
A little suspicious. The idea about a second opponent in order to play bishop d3 and take on h7. I don't know.
No, my idea is knight e5. Not like if you take, I want to play knight e5.
Knight takes e5.
d5.
Queen g5. I think I don't like your pawn structure as white.
I have this pawn on e5. I'm probably not lost. Like let's say this position is hard to evaluate. It's probably close to equality, but
looks like it.
But the queen here is active.
Very active, actually.
This pawn is nice, nicer than this one probably.
Although, like,
let's say
c6 is
c6, b6, yeah.
c6 getting rook b1 can give you some trouble, maybe.
Oh, so and I also have this rook d1, rook d4, rook d6.
Yeah.
I mean, there is slight pressure going on. So this could be an idea, this e5. Like it looks very direct. That's all I'm saying. Like this.
But it doesn't have bishop f5 as a
here.
Yeah.
Bishop f5, let's say I go bishop d3. I mean, white is active.
Capture on d3. I don't know, maybe even take here.
Probably rook d8.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now.
Queen f3 maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's once again hard to evaluate. White is quite active. Maybe rook e8.
Here, then, like the endgame of taking on c6, why is just better, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so that's
playing for two.
so that's the threat. That's what I'm thinking to myself. Like rook e1 is aimed against bishop g4. That's my guess.
And on the other hand, it's also a healthy developing move, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You cannot go wrong with moves like this usually.
Yes. So bishop d7 or b6 are more expected to be seen here.
Rook e8 also, just like keep on with the development on both sides. Looks like a very natural one.
Yes. So now rook e8. After rook e8, maybe bishop d3.
Bishop g4 is annoying, I think.
Here?
Yeah.
b5.
Queen h6.
And now I'm supposed to be annoyed. That's correct. Let's have a look. If I go
d5.
Yeah, no, it's not working.
The idea of like a bishop before d5, knight takes, you have f3 at the end, which could cause a little bit trouble for white, right? No, don't take on e5, knight takes e5.
Ah, but this is annoying for black.
And
I thought bishop f3 here makes much more sense.
yeah,
And then d5, and there's not much white can do.
yeah, taking on c6, c4 is falling, yeah.
Yeah. Even without it falling, it's quite bad. Yeah. Even if I play rook d8, it's just bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe f3 before that.
Yeah. So rook e1. So rook e8 is a good move. Bishop d7 is or b6 are also solid. It's hard to imagine white being much better here.
But on the other hand, like
It's funny.
you are playing a game in the long run, right?
Yeah.
So you wanted to have enough complexity to try to win in 20 moves, 30 moves from now.
Yeah.
Not necessarily getting an advantage, sorry. And with it being complex enough, it's something that Ding was probably aiming for.
Would you say that if the white pawn was on b4 instead of c4, white would be better?
Yeah.
By a
I
bit?
don't know if by much, but I would give it an advantage just because you have better development and
Better center.
right? Better pawn structure.
Mm-hmm.
And in the case of pawn on c4, right, you always have to take into the account the fact that taking away all of the pieces, you're never winning this. Right? And you might be slightly worse in a pawn endgame even. So this is something to take into consideration always.
Yeah, Max Oive once said that double pawns on the C file are what do you call it? Like a disease that has no
cure.
No cure. Yeah. Need to check for the actual quote because I only know how to say it in Hebrew.
How do you say it?
מחלה חשוכת מרפא.
It's not a very irreversible disease or something like this, but yeah. It is an interesting quote, but it's surprising because he never took on c6 in the Rui Lopez, I think.
Just incurable disease.
Yeah.
Much easier than I thought. So, in this position, we can expect.
How long is Jan thinking right now already?
6 minutes.
6 minutes so far, which is very unlikely for him for the opening stage, I think.
Yeah. So rook fu1.
I don't know, maybe like in a rapid or blitz game, I would sure that Jan would play something like Queen H6 and start playing with the G pawn. But
Yeah, yeah, but not today.
but it is a world title game,
Yeah,
and they have
and
a
he's
couple.
on the lead, which
Yeah,
makes a difference.
yeah, and they have like 4 hours to think on for the game, so would not be a big problem. So let's see option wise. It's interesting to ask the crowd what would you be playing with black right now? Is it just developing moves or trying to be a little bit more active with trying to play G5 with any constellation?
Um, so here, how can you decide between all of these moves when you're thinking?
So for me, the procedure process, like I would probably play something like Bishop D7 just to finish development, and then think of a plan, right? But generally, idea in the closed position when tempos do not play that much of an effect,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to come with the idea of a plan. I would be my thought process in general will be which pieces I want to keep on the board, which I want to exchange, and go from there, right? And where would I want my pieces to be standing at the end of all of that? Pros and cons, trying to figure out because White's play would be probably in the B file, right? Somehow Rook B1, C5, probably in a situation like this. And I don't know if it works to be more concrete, but take, Rook B1, maybe, I don't know. And on the other hand, Black's game might be considered somehow with G5, G4, but you need your pieces in line for Rook E8 is also a very like easy developing move.
It was played.
Yeah.
Now,
So also sort of it was like okay, let's put our pieces in better position and then see what the opponent does. May help you a little bit better with the thought process. Right? Ideally for me, if I would have the opportunity to put the knight on G6 and play C5, I think it makes Black's life a little bit better. The problem is with knight E7 that you have a direct move of E4, E5 on knight E7, right? So
so why to move here? We can expect rook
Rook
a1.
B1, yeah, like the most solid, easy move
And we
to,
can anticipate b6 from black.
yeah.
Let's check c5.
Yeah, C5 and Bishop B5 can be very, very annoying. Right, let's say he takes Bishop B5, Bishop B7,
a6 is the move.
E5. Do you have ideas with E6 here or not? Or is it too early?
You can take with the rook even.
Bishop takes C6, Rook E1, Rook E1, Queen
Oh,
C6.
no, probably e6 I should take the bishop. Wanna check it?
I'm just throwing out ideas. I doubt that I have anything specific here.
Yeah. I wish you could play some queen d5 check after this.
I feel like this, if it would have been a bug house game, put in a knight or G5 would have been fun, but we're
Yeah,
playing chess.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Just putting a knight here. Another knight, of course.
no. Yeah, so
Yeah.
And moves like queen h7 will not work. So yeah, maybe it's not as good an idea.
So probably it's too early to play c5, unless you want to do something positional here, which I don't see.
Maybe e5 d5. I don't know. Like
Yeah, now, in this move order, I can probably also go queen g6, right? And then
queen
bishop
g3,
d3.
bishop d3, bishop e4,
Okay.
right? So
So I think that would be
queen
better.
and knight takes e5. Not working. Let's go one more move back for a second. Moves like queen e4 maybe. Let's show this back. Two.
Queen e4.
Yeah, it just proves that chess is a game you need to think and not play, right? But ideas can be coming.
Yeah. Well, here, after queen e4, there is no real threat, as far as
I
I
want
can
to play
see.
d5. D5 can be very annoying for black.
So, let's see. What if I do queen g6?
Queen g6. If I take and play bishop
I'll
b5,
probably take here.
yeah, even better.
Yeah. No, so queen e4 puts pressure. Let's want to play d5. Let's try to tackle this with tactics. What if I go here?
First, I can take on c5, and I'm not sure, uh, like, is it good for me or for black? But let's say d5,
I wanted to check this move.
knight takes f6. Oh,
No,
bishop
bishop c4.
c4,
Yeah,
very annoying.
that's annoying. The point is that if I take, you can go d6 check and take here. Yeah. No, I don't like it. So it doesn't work. Bishop g4.
Bishop b5.
Yeah. It's not easy to move. So queen e4 puts pressure. Interesting. It's
Yeah.
not so bad. This c5 idea is dangerous. And bc5, does it make any difference?
bc5, I think it's even worse because bishop b5, the queen is not protecting the knight on c6. Just for as an idea, like to show.
Okay.
Okay, it's all good to show. Like you on bishop b7, you have moves like bishop a4, and accordingly just take on b7.
Yeah, with the winning advantage.
Winning
Winning material advantage.
material advantage, and then you're just good. So
Yeah. Bishop d7
bishop
is
d7 is the only move. E5 d5 maybe.
yeah,
E5.
rook b knight b8 to the end.
Yeah.
Wanna start? And also e4 and bishop a5 are moves here.
Oh yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
so maybe just d5 without e5.
d5. No, I have knight e5, don't I?
The question is like if knight takes e5, bishop takes b5, and do I have like ugly moves like knight to g4 or something like this? Queen g5.
You have ugly moves, but they are ugly.
You know, it does not give me anything. So
Yeah.
might as well.
So e5 d5 looks nice, but um, probably can just go for it. And also knight b8, it's not so clear if I mean
Right, yeah, no, no,
if e4 you can win a piece, right?
yeah, right,
So bishop f5 is the main move.
and the question, yeah, rook takes b1, bishop takes c6, right?
Now or later?
Now,
No,
I can,
hmm, hmm. Let's see. E4. Everything is so messy.
I'm trying to figure out if I want to take on E8 or A8. Probably take on B1, then take on E8,
G6.
on G3. Oh, busted.
Yeah.
I saw the same, the idea of
So after E4, it's becoming
92,
concrete.
E3, right? So,
Also, I can take here.
no, I think E3 has a very cool thing. E3, you have an idea of knight takes here, E f2 check, king f2, queen h4 is just winning.
Yeah.
With the idea that on G3, oh no, the queen is not hanging.
But queen h2 is winning.
Queen h2 is winning, right? I was all hoping to win the queen, but this is just checkmate.
Yes. You don't get to choose which queen you get.
Sometimes you're trying to, right? But
Yeah.
it is just a winning.
Let's have a look at this E3, knight f3.
Knight back to f3, right?
I mean, queen c3 looks good enough as it is. Like, black is currently in exchange up.
No, but if you do something like this, rook takes b1.
Rook b8. Rook e b8, for example, rook a b8.
Oh, you with the e probably, right?
Yeah.
But what happened? Like
the same e3 looks nice also.
e3 here.
Yeah. The same favorite e3 push.
Knight e4.
I mean, it's
e3, right?
It's interesting, but this move e3 is probably more active, I guess.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
If we do f takes e3, f takes e3, queen f2 is coming, right?
Yeah.
So knight f3 is a logical move. No,
When rook e4 exists, I don't know. It's hard to calculate, but it looks like black has a lot of potential for retrieving the material. So bc5 feels very dangerous, but it might work. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
like this, on a world championship level, you're gonna think it through on both cases. The rook b1, b6 are quite natural, right? And then
probably white should play c5.
Yeah, maybe preparing it somehow, right? I don't know.
Yeah, but any move that you prepare, it will be met by bishop a6 or something like that, or bishop b7, and black is consolidating faster than white can bring more pieces.
But you also have moves like queen a4 or maybe something of the sort.
Bishop b7.
To force bishop b7, c5 now. Oh, e4 is hanging, right? So yeah, maybe. So let's see what's up. Was the move played, or were you
Not
just
talking? Rook e8 this is the position after rook e8. Yeah. We're just predicting rook b1 as a very active move, and then c5. This is what can be expected.
Unless black chooses not to play b6 and start to do something a little bit more active that is related to g5, either right now or queen h6 first, or queen g6 to annoy the e4 pawn a little bit.
It's hard to imagine, though.
No, why not? Queen g6 here. What are you doing?
Bishop d3.
Bishop h3.
That's the idea. So maybe I go with bishop f1 immediately.
Okay, bishop g4.
Knight d2.
f3.
Well, I don't take on f3.
Obviously, right? We can just show the audience that this is a checkmate, right? So
yeah. So I play rook b7.
Rook b7, and then here, what if I take on g2?
Once again, I don't take on g2
because it's checkmate, right? But
bishop b3 was played, so yeah, not my rook b1 move.
Yeah, so still trying to play solid, right? Bishop d3 developing.
Indirectly hinting that e5 is coming.
Yeah.
I remind you that in our analysis we said bishop g4 earlier. We mentioned bishop g4, and then
But here maybe e5 is working.
and you suggested queen h6. This is what we had earlier. And then we looked at bishop e4, d5, I mean bishop f3 and d5, and we said black is fine.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see
So
if
if
prediction works.
Bishop g4 is the move to expect.
Unless we don't know how to play chess, which is also okay, right? So
it's also very easy to predict.
Yeah, like just seems as a natural developing move, but Jan might have better ideas. Although, if we think of thumb rule, you want to finish your development before starting any attack. So moves like g5 can be met with e5. And once again, as a thumb rule, an attack in the center is better than an attack on the side of the board. h7 is hanging, so there are things to be thinking about. Maybe just consolidate with queen h6 first to prevent the e5 ideas.
So now black.
Question is e5 a threat, right? It is a question to be asked.
Is e5 a threat?
A threat, yeah.
Well, if I were black, before I ask any questions, I would think where to put this guy. And I would just really want to put it here. So this is like a move that develops the bishop with a threat. So this is where we should start. Like bishop g4, and now what's white's point? Like,
yeah. So the question to be asked, like obviously this is the most natural move. The question is, right? So
is e5 an idea?
Is e5 an idea or is it not?
We didn't even bother checking d takes e5, which probably is also worth playing. Bishop takes h7, king h8, bishop back.
You're giving away the pawn on d4, right? With bishop takes and ed4.
Yeah, not on purpose. So e5, so d5 is also a good looking move.
Yeah, but maybe here you have d5 with tempo. Right, bishop takes f3. Gf3, right?
I don't have to take, I can also go knight a5 simply.
And since e5 is not hanging, you're not worried about it, right?
I don't think I have any care in the world. Like the knight will land on c5 eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe show the audience the idea, right? So the idea in the long run, right? Even if you exchange some pieces, b6, knight b7, knight c5, knight controls the entire board.
b6, knight b7, knight c5, yeah. And again, the c pawns are very weak. So what was played? Bishop g4. What a surprise!
So
we're good at predicting the obvious.
Yeah.
So now e5 will probably not be played, but what else could be the idea?
Like knight d2 to consolidate, maybe. Question is like, who does it move like f3 favor? Because if you play gf3, right?
You have to take.
If you take knight takes, right, and rook e3 at the end of the variation, suddenly white has a very, very strong center and pawn structure, open file on g, open the open G file after Queen H1, King H1, sorry, and Rook G1. So I'm not sure if a move like F3 is a good thing. On the other hand, on G takes F3, maybe Bishop H3 is an idea.
Like now King H1 is forced, or Knight F1, but
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. So King H1 to prevent this checkmate idea.
Yeah, and then Rook, once again Rook G1 and Rook G3.
Yeah, now it's not clear what Black has achieved.
Worst position, right?
Yeah. So let's see this one. Let's say Queen F4.
Rook G3 probably.
This knight has no place to go. I mean, it wants to stand on G6, but it will probably be kicked out very soon. Okay, so we have a move. I heard knight d2.
Yeah.
So knight d2 was played, of course. So Ding allows this f3. And probably it's worth mentioning that if black doesn't go f3, then white can go f3. And then knight b3, c5 could potentially yield some better structure for white.
And you also have the like e5, knight e4 ideas in some positions, right? So
yeah,
or just slowly maybe developing with rook b1, rook b5.
Yes. So in this position, what can black do?
Because if f3 is not working for black, right, it is just a small stable advantage for white, which is something in a match game, something you can dream of, right? So hoping for the opponent just to equalize.
So here we have lichess. Something about my stream doesn't work because normally when I do the stream, it shows it on lichess, like over here where people are streaming. But for some reason it fails to show in the past couple of rounds. I wish I knew how to fix it. So back to here, we have to find a move for black. F3 is an option, but we don't like it, right?
Not as much, right?
Yeah. So we have to allow F3 then, and then we want to go back to D7. And in that case, B6 probably.
B6 probably, yeah. So
Just a waiting move that could be useful.
I want to somehow try to play against the C4 pawn, right? So
yeah. Another move could be knight A5 sometimes. It was played. I just said it and it was played.
Yeah.
Lucky me. So the point of knight A5 is that to prevent white from going knight B3. So if F3, I wanted to go bishop E6. And to prevent knight B3 ideas.
Question to be asked is like D5 here and knight B3, and then A takes B3.
You can probably go knight B3 straight away.
You're not afraid of taking on C4, D5, knight E3 or something like this? So I think it simplifies for black actually, relatively. Right, yeah. So maybe just bishop E6.
We can expect F3 to be played. Bishop E6.
Maybe D5 here, knight B3.
Also, Queen A4 and knight B3 is very possible.
Even better, right? So you're still keeping the pressure.
Yeah.
Although you're letting black to play C5 after that. So
no, or you mean after this?
Take, C5.
Mm-hmm. I wish I had Queen A1.
No, sorry, D5 is just winning. Right, we're talking nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah, because the bishop can't find a square. If it goes to C8, it gets in the way.
Yeah, so sorry.
Yeah. So it's very interesting, this knight A5 move. F3 is the most natural. Let's say bishop D7 now, for example. Knight B3. Is black planning to just play this structure? Because it does look a little bit worse.
Yeah, like this position, I think it's a dream for white because you're playing for two results. I think,
But
right?
what else does black want? What's the point of knight a5?
Maybe just doing a waiting move instead of.
f3, bishop e6. I mean, it seems like Jan is playing very passively with this approach. Maybe he didn't think in advance that white will allow this f3, and then when he did, he realized he doesn't like it and he wants to go for something
Yeah,
else.
but the question is like he played knight f5 relatively quickly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, what else could be the point? Are we missing something? f3, bishop somewhere, rook b1, queen, knight b3. I don't know, knight b3. Is there any other point?
but the question is if knight b3, knight back to c6, so
Maybe
you
just
have
have to put
c5
queen on g5.
with zero threats. I don't know.
Just protect the knight and then play slowly.
Oh, you have also have bishop a4, which can be annoying, but like forcing the queen to.
I mean, queen g5 makes more sense to me than knight takes b3.
That, oh, of course, like you don't want to improve white's pawn structure. Right, so
Yeah.
queen g5 is logical. On the other hand, can you be met with moves like h4 or no? You have queen h5, right? e5, you always have the take on b3. Same with c5 ideas, probably.
Yeah. But this looks like a very passive idea.
Yeah, it's still like it is still black just standing there, seeing what white is intending to do, sort of a stalling type of position.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to see such an idea from Jan Nepomniachtchi with black. Like, but that's probably what he's aiming for, right? Bishop d7, queen g5 is the most logical follow-up if bishop e6 doesn't work. And what about this move queen a4 immediately? I mean, they don't have to wait to play it, right?
Forcing b6, right, and
And then f3,
then f3 also
followed by
forcing.
knight b3. Yeah. I mean, what's the point?
No, it also gives a trouble. Bishop has to go to h5 right now because bishop e6,
d5.
d5 with
Ooh, that's lovely.
yeah, but queen takes c3
Yeah. So
still
maybe
comes
not d5, maybe e5,
e5,
d5,
d5.
but
Yeah,
then bishop f5. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, bishop e6 is just passive. Like, I can threaten d5 for later.
yeah.
It's like this just looks good. So this queen a4 move is very dominant, right?
Sounds about right. Sounds
Queen
about
a4.
right, but
I mean, b6 is the only logical continuation, or queen g5 now.
queen g5 now makes it a little bit more interesting, I think, because he also put in some threats. But maybe move like e5 in this position.
Yeah, e5 looks nice. Now I have to go back.
And okay, knight e4, right? So
Yeah, it's troublesome.
the question is, are moves like bishop h3, bishop f1, who do they favor?
You mean here?
Yeah, here bishop h3.
I didn't like bishop e4.
Well,
Then king
f3 is very annoying.
um,
Although bishop takes f3, queen takes d2, queen takes a5.
yeah, 3 is not annoying enough.
Yeah.
So bishop e4, my point was to play queen takes a5, and then if you go here, just king h1. Maybe now f3. What a funny move.
No, but it is a nice one, right? So
Yeah. Looks like a study move.
Go back for a sec. Just instead of king g1, if you play bishop f3 to prevent this, bishop e5, yeah. So bishop e4, bishop f3.
But then d5, right?
d5, knight e4. Not good enough. Queen g6. So, but it just says that maybe bishop h3, e5, bishop h3, bishop f1.
By the way, Peter, what do you think about this structure?
Easily better for white, right?
Yeah. So it's just what I asked earlier. I mean, I'm sure I prefer the pawn on b4, but I have knight b3 coming next. So this is a better endgame without much calculations, right? So queen g5 is not...
The question is it better enough on this type of level?
Queen g5 gives white a pleasant choice, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You can also insert h4 in the mix. No, but then here you can just ignore me.
Which still might
but
be...
But f3? That's interesting. I mean, h4 is a weakening move, but just like in terms of the pieces, like bishop e6 now actually loses.
Yeah.
So you don't have a place for the bishop. So h4 might be winning.
Yeah, it is interesting. So queen a4 can develop into something very, very annoying for black. Let's see if your idea something will go for.
I mean, queen a4 makes a lot of sense, but what's the point? Let's try to predict what's going on. So let's say, I'm sure he doesn't want to go back. It's not, even though that's probably like the strongest move if knight b3 is coming.
Maybe not, because rook b1 is very, very...
Yeah, so b6 must be his idea. Now this bishop is very passive. By the way, another interesting concept could be h3. And then if you go bishop h5, I can go f3 later. But if you go back, then knight f3, exactly. And now d5 is a potentially big threat.
Yeah, and
e5, of course. So, yeah, why does a lot of idea?
Well, first of all, on h3, you have to go bishop h5 because bishop e6 loses to d5. We already discussed that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
That's why I started with knight f3.
Knight f3, right? And then...
Yeah. So h3, he has an option of two bad moves probably, and bishop h5 after f3. h3 is still useful because it's playing against this g5, g4 idea, which is probably black's only idea. But then c5 maybe?
e5.
Yeah, but I prefer to get my knight b3 going.
Yeah.
So probably here f3 is the most solid. And then knight b3, no matter what you do. For example, this position. And now you don't have time for knight b7 even. Not that it's a good move, but otherwise, because of queen c6, but there is this d5, so you have to take. And this structure looks fantastic for white. Does c5 work now or not?
I think just d5 and rook ad1 is winning.
Okay. Yeah.
Less crazy moves like d5 work?
I think it does. But maybe not. We'll see. Queen b5, you have to go with this rook, right?
Probably. Yeah.
Sorry. And now queen back.
Yeah. b4.
Queen
c6 is probably the right move.
Yeah, the right order.
Queen c6, and then...
He played c5. I wanted to see my queen a4 move on the board. He played c5. You know, I have something a little bit critical to say about the c5 move. Even if it's a good move, it seems like Ding doesn't want to win slowly.
It is part of like the way he plays, right? He's a very, very dynamic player, looking for dynamics.
It's funny that you say it because I perceived him as a much more Karpov-like player with the ability to play dynamically if necessary. But you know, they say Karpov and Petrosian were amazing at dynamics, he just didn't use it.
Yeah, I know. So there was a very, I think it's a quote by Miguel Najdorf, like if Tal is sacrificing a piece, take it and then start thinking. If Petrosian is sacrificing a piece, just resign, right? And
Yes, yes. So in this particular case, after c5, so the reason I said what I said is that queen a4 seems like a good move, not only objectively but also psychologically. It's like, dude, what are you doing with your knight there? And then like it's almost humiliating to the opponent to play passively, you know? Like if Jan ends up playing this, his morals can be affected by it, even though h4 we concluded is winning. So, but my point is that if you go for something like, let's say, this line, and then you start playing passively, then Jan won't necessarily be having a lot of fun defending this position, and he's known to not being so good in passive positions, and is not really the most patient player in the world. So queen a4 would have been posing some problems, and while c5 could be an amazing move, there is a chance of losing with this move. And it's not something that Ding would have played if he was leading the event, right?
I don't know. Maybe
D takes c5.
D takes c5. Probably e5 is coming, right? And we're looking at a very, very dynamic game.
Yeah, but no matter how you define this position, Black has counterplay. I mean, you might have better play, but according to what I learned, you generally want to prevent counterplay while improving your position if possible. I played e5 quite quickly.
That was the idea, right?
I guess c5 prepares the same knight b3 that we talked about earlier. Yeah, now we can expect queen h6. Maybe he wants to just play d5 and then...
yeah, probably. That's maybe d5, c4 even. And lock in this ugly knight at the end of the board. Right, and then you're one piece down defending. Because it is going to take a very, very long time to try to retreat the knight into any sort of playing position. Right, if you're like queen has to move, you play d5, you play c4.
Yeah.
The knight on a5 is out of the game for a while. Even if you go into an end game, it is going to be hard to get it back to any sort of position because of from b7 you go to d8, you still have no more moves to go.
h6 played quite quickly.
Yeah, probably forced move, right? And then
now we can expect d5.
Probably, unless you want to do f3 prior.
f3 allows bishop e6.
Yeah, so d5 and then.
Very interesting choice. Oh, I don't like it because
maybe I don't know. Maybe even like to be concrete, c4 could be a move right now for black.
So the reason I don't like this whole approach is because like these kind of positions, even if you get this d6 going, I always have this f6 coming later on if I want. It seems like white is not prepared to hold the centers like that stands like this after once c6 and f6 with all the pieces start coming at it. It feels like it can easily collapse.
I think it is a very, very sharp position with the fact that like either black can do something positionally or suddenly white can develop a very quick attack without black's pieces going anywhere. So,
yeah. I think Ding should remember that this match is going to be a very long match and he doesn't have to, go all in every game. But it's just the start of the match.
Unless you switch into poker, right? And then,
yeah. Probably in poker you also don't have to go all in every time.
Not every
you
hand,
can.
Not every hand.
In poker it can work, but it's not the best strategy. So d5.
Unless you have pocket aces every time, right? And then
So that's what Ding has. Ah, I see. So
Probably.
he has two aces here on d5 and d5. So it looks nice. It definitely looks nice. Everyone will say he's a genius if it works, but I have to mention that if he doesn't, he could end up losing the game. And in the Queen A4 option that I suggested, he didn't have much chances of losing.
Which, once again, for a match game, a much safer choice. And I don't think we're still in a stage that he has to risk it all. But on the other hand, no guts, no glory, right? So I'm glad that he played the way he played because it will make our time a little bit more fun in this game.
Yeah. By the way, I wanted to share with you something I heard in an interview. Ding was asked about what he thinks about becoming the world champion, and his answer surprised me. So let me ask you first: if you were the world champion, what are the first couple of things that come to your head? Like, let's say that tomorrow you're the world champion. What's in it for you? Let's say.
First of all, pride. It's always part of it. It's like the highest achievement you can get in anything you put your mind into, which is also like a benefit for a long and grinding work. I'll quote don't remember the name of the football player after winning the Super Bowl. Like, I'm going to Disneyland. So for me, it's like going to travel somewhere, but I'm sure the Ding's answer would have been totally different.
Yeah. So when I look at the world champ, so let's say, for example, when I introduce the Boris Gelfand versus Vishwanathan Anand match to Israelis from the street, random Israelis that I speak to in Tel Aviv who have no clue about chess. They don't know the rules. And then they hear we have a person in Israel who was the second in the world twice. So the first thing I say is that there was like more than $1 million prize. That's like how I get the stranger to understand that there is some value going on, and then the reaction is like, what? There are prizes in chess, and then like the conversation continues from there. So in a way, I was conditioned through these conversations to think that the world champion, meaning I win $1 million plus or something, and I win it again because I have another match. So it's like this is the very least.
On one hand, it's all about the money, right? On the other hand, coming from China, I don't know if the money goes directly to Ding's pocket, so maybe he thinks differently.
I don't think this is not what I was referring to. Like that's one meaning of being the world champion. Then you have this like job of being the ambassador of chess in the world, which is interesting, like to be interviewed everywhere and to get all these opportunities, and you obviously get paid more and you get more interesting places to go to in terms of being a chess personality and not only a player. And then there is Ding's answer. It will be a great glory for me to be hung on all the chess clubs in the world.
Yeah.
And that's like, I forgot that this is a part of the deal. When I thought about these matches, chess clubs are everywhere in the world. They don't have many of them, but they exist. And in every chess club that respects itself, you have
the world champions, right?
Yes, and it's interesting. Like that's a very, very interesting perspective to talk about the glory behind winning the event. All over the world, my picture will be hung, and I'll be very happy. And for decades to come.
Question: what was Jan's answer?
I don't remember seeing Jan being asked. Maybe he was asked, and his answer wasn't shown, because this particular part was I just showed up on my screen, as a video that was kind of watched, like a short. So, wow, they should have Nigel Short creating shorts on TikTok. This would have been popular, probably. 20 years ago.
20 years ago. Although I think his win against Jan Timman, I think, is one of my favorite games ever. But
Yeah, you're not the only one, probably.
yeah, right.
Yeah. 1990 something.
Yeah,
Let's say 91.
probably just before, like, for him competing against Kasparov was 93, I think, or 4. So
Yeah,
around that time.
he was in the competition. He was unlucky, you know. Nowadays he had the chance if he would play with the same level that he had. Like if he had some opening preparation and
It's a totally different game right now, right? So before computers, your seconds would have way more effect on what's going on. Kasparov, with his talent and also his mentality and the drive to win, was second to none.
yes.
Even the first match he had with Anand, like he like basically killed him, crushed him, although he lost game number 9 and immediately coming back to win game number 10.
Yeah.
It was
Anand leading by a game?
Yeah, so it was first eight games were a draw, then Anand won game number 9,
Yeah.
and then Kasparov won game number 10 with, if I remember correctly, with a crazy preparation, with sacrificing like half of the board.
Wow. It's very common for Anand to have this back and forth.
Yeah, I know, but we need to remember this was young Anand, and he was playing prime Gary Kasparov at the time.
Yeah.
Still think of like match playing wise, it's very interesting of prime Kasparov versus prime Carlsen. The question is like, it would be interesting for me also to see them like before computers and after computers in both cases.
Yeah.
For me, like two of them are the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
With all the respect to Bobby Fischer, right? But
yeah.
The game was totally different at the time.
Yeah. And probably to Capablanca and last year, and everyone with all the statistics who pull up the data.
Yeah, definitely. Like being a world champion for 27 years is one hand. On the other hand, the level of competition is just rising, right? So,
yes. I can't help but wonder if we took Ding or Yanni Pomniachtchi, because Yanni Pomniachtchi is a Russian player who has the same kind of culture as Kasparov. If he faced prime Kasparov, it would probably be a one-sided match, right? If you take the prime Kasparov and add all the knowledge of today, and you let him face Jan of today.
Jan of today with Kasparov's knowledge at the time?
No, Kasparov in his prime, plus you add some good analysis of today's games. That's a Kramnik's analysis, you see?
Basically, add computer analysis.
He would probably.
I think Kasparov will just crush most of the players today. On the other hand, if you take into consideration the people with nowadays preparations versus the best players at the time with even half of the preparations, the player of old times will not stand a chance.
Yeah. But I just think that Kasparov of the time of 90, let's say 99, when he was in his peak, he would probably beat every single one of these players pretty easily. He would play these kind of moves like quickly, have an advantage over the clock, and they wouldn't be able to keep up with his dynamic abilities.
Sustain the pressure, right? This was part of the
both these players are known to be dynamic. But they're afraid. They're not like Kasparov back in the day, who had no fear, you know.
Also, it's also a different period of time. Before computers, the games were not as precise, and you would use your intuition very well, right? If you take Tal's games into consideration, right? Like most of the sacrifices were not right. Right, they were losing sacrifices, but good luck finding the right moves under the pressure of the clock when you always need to find the right move for the precise thing. Players of nowadays can do it, right? If you
quite easily.
Right. Players like Anish Giri, even Ding Liren can remember him defending a very, very hard, very hard game against Caruana in one of the candidates matches that he managed to sustain a lot of pressure to win. Right, it is still very, very hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And if you once again take the computer analysis out of it, and those players all grew up on computer analysis, which also gives them the ability of finding moves that you're normally not thinking about.
Yes.
So it is a totally different game right now. And for lazy people like me, it's not as fun.
Mm-hmm. So in this situation, like Kasparov in his prime, probably in this position, he would consider this idea with c5, e5, d5. But I wonder if he would also just play queen a4 quickly after having seen it, and just put pressure and get his tactics going later.
Karpov will play queen a4 and win a game against like 99% of the players, just because he has a small, steady advantage.
Yeah.
Kasparov, on the other hand, like dynamics way too much. So like c5, e5, d5 will sort of create a spark in his eyes, I think.
But he would evaluate it a little bit differently, I think, than us humans. You know, like he would actually delve into calculation very deeply and will decide whether or not he likes the continuations. If he will see a few moves that lead to a position he can't understand and can't have any safety net or feel for the position, you never actually see Kasparov in his prime going for moves like this and then having a piece down after 10 moves. Doesn't happen.
Unless he sacks it in order to give a checkmate, right?
Yeah. So, but you don't see him ending up like on the losing side of the sacrifice, of the pawn, long-term sacrifice for the center. It's like he knew that this was good. He felt that.
Yeah, once again, his intuition was brilliant.
So, yeah, I tend to think that the c5 here, like maybe I'm just being disrespectful towards Ding, but it's like it's not an impressive move that shatters Black's defenses. It's just an attempt to get the game out of balance.
But on the other hand, once again, like it is a very, very dynamic choice, right? Because the knight on a5 is very much stuck. Yes. So rook d8 was played, c4 is probably coming, and then
we can expect c4, which does a lot of things. It prevents c4, protects the pawn, fixes the knight over here. Now the question is what happens if Black goes for something sharp. Probably this knight can be in trouble.
Yeah, so you always have like healthy moves like queen c3, giving a lot of trouble for Black, right? On c6, queen c3.
Yeah.
You have
So
did he play c4? Not yet, right? So no, but on the other hand, if Black does not play immediately c6 and f6, I think after moves like f3, his position just gets ugly anyway, right? So
c4 was played. So this position is over the board as we speak.
time-wise, we're talking about a 15-minute advantage for Ding.
Oh.
Okay, so since we're waiting for the development, we might want to. Oh, V6? Seriously? Okay. No.
Just don't want queen c3 to come with the tempo.
Okay.
Maybe he also doesn't want to allow knight b3.
No, I want my knight on e4 probably with some constellations. Surprising. Maybe moves like bishop f5 now.
I used to look at positions like this every day when I looked at classical games and analyzed and played blitz games and checked them afterwards. But nowadays, like, it's very rare to see something so unbalanced, like a pawn down versus such a center. And
Depends on what level, right? Maybe in a grandmaster level, right, world class level, maybe. On a level of players rated somewhere anywhere between 1700 and 400, I think you have quite a lot of those.
yeah,
Yeah. So we still.
I haven't seen this kind of level in a while, probably. So here, what do we do with white? I mean, black is very solid. Like, these pawns, while they are nice, they're not attacking anything. They can move forward. And, like, black keeps everything under control, you know? They just have a lot of...
I don't know, like move like h3 probably, right? You want to see where the bishop goes, first and foremost.
Okay.
Right now,
What if I go for the exchange of pieces?
I think it's something I might even want for, or even go, I'll go back before, instead of h3, maybe even bishop f5 to exchange and put my knight on f3. Oh no, c4 is hanging, so not as solid. But although it still might be an idea because f4 will be hanging.
Yeah, but I have f3.
Do I have ideas with e6 at the end or no? That's the question.
Knight d6 will come.
But if, oh, I was thinking e6, rook, and then rook takes e6, but you have queen takes e2.
Maybe...
e2, and but even so, knight takes f3, knight takes c4, rook e4.
Okay. Things may collapse for white.
Yeah. Still think it doesn't work. It's just knight takes e4 and you don't have enough attacking pieces. But it's also like thematically wise, you want to attack with as many pieces possible.
Yeah. And I don't like this c5 e5 thing, but it seems like he's trying too hard to get the game out of balance. Just at the there is this thing called timing in chess, you know, and normally
in chess, but in life also. Right?
Yeah, but I mean, Fischer famously said chess is timing. So I have this kind of faith, let's say, that statistically speaking, when you get such a chance to play queen a4, then you shouldn't play the most dynamic move on the same occasion. You see, like, you have different timing for different kinds of play, what the position asks from you. And in this particular case, like, you don't have that many pieces controlling the center, and black has all of their pieces participating in the game now. So, like, they have the same pieces as you. So, like, like, okay, you have the pawns for now, but in the future they will not stay there.
Yeah, but
So
once again, the question is, and this is a very solid question, even in the long run. Right now, is the knight on a5 going to play a factor in this game, right? Even if once we play this, right?
yeah, but let's say if you had to evaluate this position, you have to say plus equals, plus minus, and so on. I would say this is either a plus equals or unclear. You know how they used to put this
Yeah,
unclear mark in the informator before the computers, just informant. So, but this like position here,
uh,
here, this is between plus equals and plus over minus, somewhere in the middle,
yeah. I would say applies plus
without
equal, like
any chance of losing ever.
plus equals, but easy, steady plus equals, right? That's
Yeah, that only goes farther. Like it only goes in one direction. It either stays there or goes. So you don't lose this advantage even in 10 moves if you make inaccuracy.
with all the respect to One Direction, I still prefer the Guns N' Roses concert coming to Israel.
I see.
So
So you want the advantage to go only in Guns N' Roses.
yeah,
Okay, so here you got it. Heavy rock, all the heavy pieces. So, but I feel like it has something to do with Ding's confidence. Like Ding of 2018 would play this Queen A4 move. He would probably have I don't know, like 30 minutes more on the clock, and he would just crush his opponent and squeeze them slowly and slowly and slowly, and he will find the right move to be dynamic, to follow through with tactics and so on. But I feel like he lost a lot of his confidence and faith in himself recently.
I
It's
mean, he
like,
had a few very bad tournaments, right, coming in before this one.
he played like 30 games in 3 weeks. Have you heard the story?
No.
So Ding qualified to the candidates via Karyaki not being able to play.
Okay.
And he was the next best in rating. But there is a rule that you cannot play unless you have a specific amount of games before the candidates for the next, like 2 or 3 months prior to the candidates. So by the time they confirmed that he will participate, he's invited, he had 30 days to complete, something like 3 weeks to complete 30 games. So what happened next is that the Chinese Chess Federation or some organizers, they just created these matchups between Ding and all of the top Chinese players in a loop. And he just played, I think he did play those games, but like 30 games in 3 weeks, more or less. That's what I heard Caruana say.
Which is suicide on this level, right? You cannot play that
But
many games.
he did play well. I mean, he did win against 25 and 2600s very steadily.
But the problem is you get to the candidates tournament tired. Right?
Yeah, and then he wins. Like he won second place. He was tired, and I'm not sure if it was 3 weeks before the candidates or 3 weeks before the deadline. You know.
Maybe, but still, it is a very, very hard thing to do.
So the thing is with Ding's choice is that he won second place in the candidates. So he won. He got into the candidates by luck. He got into the world championship match by sheer luck, let's say, because Carlsen decided not to play, withdrew. And
he might win it. Right? So
I wish. I actually root for him, even though Jan is great and probably the most cynical world champion that we will ever have.
Unless Grishuk wins it
Later on, yeah. Yes. And Ding is like
the fact that Jan played in Israel a few times makes
he's Jewish.
Yeah, he is Jewish. He has relatives in Israel, right? So, and he also he played in the Maccabi games. He played in tournaments in Jerusalem a few times. So there is that connection.
Yes, which is great. Yeah. Who was the last Jewish world champion?
Kasparov.
But his dad was Jewish, so technically,
I don't know, man. Like,
I don't know what are the official. Like they said, I heard somewhere that half of the world champions were Jewish, and I don't know what are the definitions.
probably one parent, not necessarily two, but
Yeah, but before Kasparov, it was
Fischer.
Fischer,
Right.
and he didn't even know it.
And
Probably Tal,
Dad was Jewish. I don't remember
Smyslov, no,
Smyslov, yes or no. And
Botvinnik,
that's a good question. I'll need to double check with
yeah,
the older folks in our club. They will know this better.
or Google. I can ask ChatGPT also.
Google knows everything, right? So
Yeah, let's try ChatGPT just to see what's going on, if they will let me.
if we go back to the position, decision time for Ding, right? So that is an interesting question. Like if you're looking at this position right now, what do you think about ugly moves like G3 right now at this point in time? Is it too
You
ugly?
said it all.
Too ugly?
It's quite ugly. The move G3.
Yeah.
It weakens a lot of squares.
I don't have a question. Like if you take, I'm happy, right? But
Yeah, but I don't.
you don't, right? So
I mean, it does make sense, don't get me wrong.
you know, because
Rook E4 is an idea.
is an idea, right? So
But then bishop E5 also.
rook takes f4.
And take D3, take E5. Which of the world chess champions were Jewish? That's an interesting question for ChatGPT. Immanuel Asker,
Steinitz for sure.
Botvinnik. He doesn't mention Steinitz. Spassky. What? Kasparov. It is worth noting that the Jewish identity of these players may not have been a central part of their public performance.
I think the only one like was Bronstein. It was really like
Yeah, but they neglected like half of them.
Steinitz for sure. And
He doesn't want the world. He doesn't mention other world champions. Are you familiar with the fact that Samuel Lershevsky was considered a kid prodigy?
yeah, of course.
Yeah, we have a picture here on your right. You see of a Samuel here on the bottom on the table.
Yeah, so as a kid, yeah, it's a very, very famous one.
Yeah,
Very famous one.
yeah.
Okay.
So what else? B6 is still. Smyslov.
Yeah, Smyslov was, and I'm sure William Steinitz was.
Yeah. I never thought about using ChatGPT to learn about chess history because they do. It's interesting to read with all the details. It talks about where they were born, the cities, and so on. So Kasparov, Fischer.
Tal, Niklas Steinitz. I did not know that Tarash was Jewish, but okay. But good. Yeah, I think would now can be a good time to give the audience the opportunity to solve a puzzle
Mhm.
We can be back in about 5-10 minutes.
Actually, I would rather 20 to 30.
20.
Yes, just so we have time to eat lunch. So, all the three viewers, we will get back soon. And thank you very much for watching so far. And see you after the break. Why to play and win. Right. We are back, and this is the current position. Let's have a look at what we have missed. This is the last time we were here and looked at the position. b6. So h3 was played, right? h3, bishop h5, rook e7.
Yeah, so important to notice that if rook takes c5, bishop takes h7, just winning.
Rook e7 was played. And now queen c3.
Probably, right, and then rook e8.
Let's see. Rook d8. And yeah. And now this is the current position. Black is still not threatening to take here because of bishop h7. And
on the other hand, is Black is asking what would you do right now? So first look a glimpse at the position is that if White wants to play for any sort of advantage, you probably need to double on the e file also and try to push e6 at some point, or try to I don't know, maneuver the bishop around and push d6 at some constellation, although it is very, very hard for me to see the way to do so.
yeah.
Maybe playing like bishop c2, bishop a4 as the as an idea, but
Well,
then it's still not clear for me what would you do next.
well, let's get back to the conversation about Kasparov. It's like we talked about Kasparov in his prime, and we try to guess what his decision-making process would be like. So in this position, let's imagine that Kasparov that we just created in our imagination calculates this sequence, and he sees this specific move in his mind, and he has to evaluate it. Okay? And then, on the other hand, he has this variation. Let's say bishop e6, and bishop h5. Knight b3, takes. And then he sees this position. From this point, let's say he has 10 minutes to make up his mind. Which one of the two lines will he choose? Which one would you choose? Which one would I choose? Like, I think that from where I'm sitting, it's pretty clear that we all, including Kasparov and Magnus of today, would choose this queen a4 move. If we know for sure that this is the position that we get, and here we know for sure that this is the position that we get. It's like, this position doesn't seem like White is penetrating through Black's defenses. It seems like White has some advantages, Black has a pawn up, and no one can make progress, you know? It's like pieces will be swapped, and maybe White will get the material back, or maybe Black will sacrifice something at some point and get counterplay. But like, I would evaluate this position as roughly balanced, and this position is clearly better for White, without any doubt.
I will say complicated on the current position, and this is easier advantage for White in this one, right? So
this is for 3 results. This is for 2 results. You know.
That's correct. Right?
And like, I'm really annoyed with the fact that Ding, whom I'm rooting for, chose this complicated line, and instead of just playing a brilliant move here that wins, he is just thinking. You know. Like, couldn't you think here and realize that you will be thinking later? And just conclude that, okay, I don't want to think, I'd rather just have an advantage.
It's interesting, how much time did Ding think on the move c5?
Ding has spent So when he played c5, it took him about 12 minutes.
Okay, interesting. And what's the time right now? Like how much time each player has?
So when he played c5, they both had like an hour and a half, and now they both have like 40, 45 minutes.
Okay, and Ding is still a few minutes up.
Yeah, but he still hasn't made a move in this position. So after like AB3, it's not a question of whether or not white can win. It's a question of like how does black defend, and like in
How
terms
much does Black have to suffer in order to defend?
yeah, and I think one of the key aspects of such positions is that even if you defend correctly for 40 moves and you survive, which is a big F, you still lose a lot of energy. And on the moral side, white is just having fun. And like I think that one of the most important things in chess is to remember to have fun during the game. It's like you can choose this kind of variations if you think you have the initiative and you're having fun and you're trying to break through, or you can just try to press. But from my experience, when I'm the side who's pressing and my opponent is defending, even if they succeed, they are much more fatigued after the game, and I feel a little bit more like I came back from a good meal. You know, like I was just having some, like I was just being entertained by my own game, by my experience. And while it's upsetting not to win, like I'm getting some free lessons, you know, because I don't have to lose the game, and I have a lot of decisions that I took that can be analyzed later in order to improve. And
One of the things is like it's obviously always easier to attack than to defend, right? It
yes,
is, especially if you're not risking losing and the right defense for a long period of time. It's a very, very long and hard process. And that being said, some are better than others in that, and some might prefer more dynamic, even if it's unsure position, versus pressing a little bit in positions such as this one.
I want to take a second to also mention another opportunity that Ding has missed yesterday while we are waiting for a move from Ding. So let's have a quick look of what happened. So yesterday we can talk a lot about the opening and the move orders, but they had this position: h6, bishop h4, bishop e7, bishop d3, let's say knight bd7. I'm not sure what was the exact move order. Castle, rook e8, castles, a5. Now a3, something along the lines of knight f8. No, c5 was played at some point. I think it was like, oh, knight h5. Yeah, knight h5 was played. Takes, rook e1, knight f8, knight c1, knight f6, f3, and then knight e2, c5. I'm not sure if I have the move order correct. So first of all, here, this is the first, like this was Jan's mistake. Like Jan should have played either knight f4 or queen d2 for a slightly better game potentially, but he made this d takes c5 mistake, and after queen takes c5, bishop b5, bishop d7 was played. Wait, the rook was on d8 already. I'm missing something. Queen d2, yeah. Queen d2, rook d8. So bishop b5. Oh, I understand what happened. So bishop b5 was probably played here, and now dc5, queen c5, queen d2, and in this position bishop d7. And here Jan was shocked by this knight takes d7, and then I think they had something like knight d4, knight b6, queen f2, knight c4, rook d1, something along these lines. And now knight a3 doesn't work because of e4. So in the game, rook ac8 was played, threatening both of these. And I wanted to show that after knight a4, that was played in the game queen e7, and knight, was it knight b5? I think this was the game, if I'm not wrong. I think I can check. There was knight c7, knight d4, and back and forth, something along these lines. But I was sure I remembered it. Let me quickly check. There was one move here that I'm missing, one specific move. So, yeah, knight b4. So, yeah, rook e1 is the move I missed. So this is the critical position from yesterday. So here, black played queen f6, which was probably when he missed his chance to play for the initiative. So Ding actually got an interesting position here with black, and the position is not better for black, but he had the chance to play a move that I'm sure he would have chosen if he had seen it. Like, you can play queen e8, essentially forcing knight c3, and then take on a3. And the game becomes quite complicated. Like, white has to play knight f5, and now black can protect everything with rook c5. And in this position, it would have been very complicated, to say the least. And if we compare this complicated continuation versus here, we can see that here, when playing queen e8, black has an equal position, more or less, and they made a draw by repetition in like two moves, like queen f6, knight b5, knight c7. After queen e8, the game remains very interesting and complicated, and this would have been a complicated game instead of a draw. But here he chose a complicated game in a roughly equal position instead of an advantage. Yeah. And I'm sure he knew he had an advantage here, but my guess that he just wasn't very confident that this kind of position is good enough. Like,
maybe.
I think something about his mentality is like he's trying to break through a wall instead of just meditating his way to the win, you know? And yeah, we can hear some moves being played, so let's check them. So we have bishop f3 and then knight b7 by black. This reminds me a lot of the Petrov defense.
Yeah, but the knight on b7 is still awkward, right? But fortunately, there are no direct ways to break through it with moves like d6. Still wondering if in the long run, if you exchange bishops, put the knight on f3, what does it mean in the long run, right? So
okay, so this position, if we talk about positional chess, the question that we need to ask is, how can white make progress? It's clear that white is the one that tries to make progress because of these nasty pawns, right? White, like, when we look at this position, we don't ask how does black win, we ask how does white try to win. Yeah. Oh, because if white doesn't do anything and black doesn't do anything, it will be a draw if they repeat moves. So white is the one who needs to make progress. Black is the one who's like being passive and keeping an eye on all the pawn breaks. So the question is, what do we do? And the first let's say, concept that comes to my mind is the fact that a lot of pieces were swapped off the board. And the fact that we have only 3 heavy pieces and 1 pair of knights for each, just 1 knight for each side, on the intuition level, it feels like there are not enough pieces for dynamics to take place. It's not going to be a deadly attack on the king all of a sudden. So, for example, if I had the bishop on b2 and black had the bishop on c8, I would be very, very happy.
Or like you have the thumb rule that exchanging pieces is better for the defending side. Then
yeah,
this is the
and also to the side without the space.
Yeah.
And with the pawn up. So many rules.
Yeah, but on the other hand, like if you play like with something like Rook E4 as a plan, try to
Rook
win.
E2 was played.
Rook E2 was played, so putting more pressure, right?
Yes.
Putting more pressure, trying like he's gonna double the rooks.
Yes.
And then the question is, well, is there a break at some point through the guard of the black pieces? Is there any ideas of pushing d6 with the knowing the fact that the eighth file at some point is sort of hanging?
Which file?
The eighth row, sorry. And the idea of like if you're doubling, no. Eighth, yeah.
Yeah.
And the question is like after you, for example, if double put the rook on e1, right, and then you're somehow playing d6. If any of the you need to take on f3, right? If in any of the variations, sort of you have queen a8 with mating ideas, or that is just a bluff.
I see. Let me do the arrows. So just here, if I play rook e1 and later on black takes and I go queen takes and d6, maybe one day I'll get this. So it's interesting. That's probably part of white's idea. Black is probably going to search for a place for this knight.
The thing is, I don't see it as much, right? Because you don't have moves like c6 so far. This is
probably f6 is the main idea. Not necessarily now, but as a pawn break. Because if you do e6, the knight will at least have a good square on d6. But I guess it's much better. I was much happier earlier when c6 was an option, because then if d6, then f6. And it looks like black has some counterplay. But yeah, Jan chose the passive defense, and here, like...
And he's usually not one that is very good at this type of suspense. Mostly, it is interesting to see. Like, remember the fact that he sort of collapsed against Magnus after he lost the 8-hour game, right? So it was a downhill from there.
Yeah, and that was exactly my point earlier. That if you are slightly better and you're playing for 8 hours, your opponent loses a lot of his reserve energy, mental energy, emotional energy, and if he ends up losing, then it completely crushed his soul in a way. Like, he still speaks about what an idiot he was in this press conference. That's how traumatic it was from him. And
it's totally understandable, right?
Yeah. So rook e2. So during the break we were talking and discussing this position, and from the level of from the perspective of the level of Ding and Yan, it's very easy for me to say that this is not better chance for white than this. But I also realized, as I was speaking, that I would probably lose this position to either of them with either color. So no matter which of these two players I face, no matter what color I choose here, I would probably lose here because this is a very challenging position. Maybe with white I have more chances to keep everything together.
Yeah, no, it all depends on how you're sort of keeping pressure, applying pressure. F6.
Something is going on.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, let's check the obvious. If e6.
E6 is, I think, looks like the only move, right? Because otherwise e5 is hanging. You cannot take on f6 because the rook on e2 is hanging. Right, so e6 looks like the only move. Knight goes to a good position. That being said, it's like looks like.
So the question that comes is how to make progress. Basically, that's
the other question is like also like, can you sort of keep the position as it is and let black do the moves?
Let's make some random continuation. I'll just making random moves.
A4, A5, and then
Let's suppose that we get.
Wait. Let's just put rook on E1, right? And then
Okay. Let's suppose that black, just for the sake of argument, get something like G5 in there.
So G5, you're giving me the G4 square for my knight, which might get in handy, right? F6 is very weak, right? So bishop takes H5 and I take on F6, you're already in trouble.
No.
Right?
No, so let's try this, okay? Let's say I don't want to get G5 in so quickly. Okay, so my plan, just to state it, is to find a good square for my queen. Of course, exchange the bishops at the right moment and keep this pawn alive. Okay, so in my imagination, I see the pawn on G5, the pawn on H5, the queen on F5. Okay, so
I think actually G5, I don't like the idea at all because of the fact that knight on G4 and heavy pressure on F6 pawn.
Okay, so let's make concrete moves. Let's imagine. So let's say I go rook F8. Okay.
That's the thing. The question is, what happens is if black is trying to stall.
Let's just play blitz moves and see what happens.
Knight F1.
Just
knight F1. I'm losing on C4. Wait.
Yeah. But I'm revealing my plan. I want to go G5. I want to get my queen to F5. I want to go H5 after the bishop trade and bring my king somewhere, and just keep everything together for as long as possible. So let's imagine my king even on G6 could be possible.
I'm trying to figure out for white if like.
Technically speaking, it could also go to B8.
Yeah, no. The other thing, like, as of white, I'm trying to figure out if I'm.
E6 was played, obviously. So now at this moment, E6 has been played, and now with black to move. 96 is probably a harmless move. We have to do it sooner or later.
Yeah. No, I'm just thinking, like, in the long run, if we'll go back to the position, like we played A4, A5, Rook A8.
Yeah.
Right, and for me, like, let's say Rook F8. For me, it's an interesting question just to ask myself. If I take on H5 and play Knight E4, right, and
before I have time to get my pieces to the best squares.
Yeah. So and then, like, if I take on D6, B6 is gonna fall, right? And I have the
I take for sure.
I have to. Okay, now
I go Queen F5 and G5.
The question is, do I have any ideas related with D6?
I'll go Rook D8 the moment you try. Probably. But Queen D2 maybe.
Queen D2, yeah.
Queen D2. So Knight D6 was played. So Queen D2. Let's say, for example, G5 D6.
Yeah.
How do we evaluate this?
Take my use crushing. Take on B6 and good night, Irene. Right. So.
Well, so Queen F5 was probably a little bit careless. Let's say I try to save the time by going G5 immediately, and I want to be in time for Rook D8.
Question is, if you play D6 anyway,
okay.
Queen D2,
okay, Rook D8,
Queen B2.
Okay. Let's say I give you this pawn.
Which one?
On B6. So let's say I go.
B6 equals also the A5 pawn, right? And then I have, once I'm leveled up.
Okay, let's play Rook.
I take on F6.
Queen G6. Rook E1 was played. So the current position on the board is following our analysis exactly. I mean, without A4, of course. A4 is not so relevant right now. So rook e1. So, but let's continue with our analysis. Like here, so
if I take on b6,
yeah,
right?
that's probably the move. And now my point was to play f5.
f5
and then f3.
And then f3, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, black is not doing so badly. I mean, I have a few tempi to give you back the pawns, and I open up your king in the meantime.
yeah.
So d6 probably is not fast enough. So knight f5, what? I didn't anticipate this one. Okay, so let's revert from everything we said as usual. And now let's put rook e1 on the board, which is the most obvious move. And now Jan didn't really think much. Knight f5 is putting the knight on d4, which makes much more sense than what we suggested for black. Because this knight here not only disturbs white's coordination, it also keeps an eye on the pawn on e6 and blocks the file from getting d6 going. And if you exchange the knights, then we can already probably agree to a draw.
Question, once again, question to be asked. And
yes.
Like if you take off, you need to take the bishop, probably put the knight on f3, right? But
let's look at the position for a second, just to understand. I mean, of course, knight d4 is coming, but I just want to see if something pops into mind, if we stare at it for a moment. Because Ding is a big fan of exchange sacrifices, so we know it could happen, in theory. So let's try to ask. This doesn't look like the worst move ever played in chess.
I think the worst move in chess is to start playing in the first place, but that's a whole other problem.
Yeah. Everyone made it.
Yeah.
500 million people blundered already.
What's your idea on ID4? You just want to sack? He played
too late, yeah, but it's not my idea. It's not something I would actually play in a game probably. I'm just trying to understand because it's the analysis, and I'm such a big hero, you know. Yeah. I'm looking at this queen, I'm looking at these pawns, and I'm thinking, okay, what am I risking? Okay, I'm an exchange down, but if my knight comes to c6, I'm obviously better. So it's like this is just I don't think white is risking anything here.
Yeah, but on the other hand,
and this pawn, if it falls, then suddenly I'm very happy.
You're still in an exchange in the pawn down.
No, I took the pawn back.
Okay, yeah. So down,
yeah.
Maybe. Yeah,
I mean, it's an interesting option. Like in Blitz, I would definitely play it. Like, okay, because the Blitz mindset is not to play the best moves. You see what he wants, and you try to prevent it. And like,
yeah, and also like preventing it is taking on h5. Like the game was played, play knight f3, and then
he didn't play knight f3. He is going for my idea, but with the extra threat on f4.
Yeah, no, but also like I think the pawn on f4 is falling right now.
Maybe knight f5 was a mistake.
I don't know. No, but like if you're playing knight d4, I think is the only move, right?
Okay, but can we agree at this moment that white is happy? And clearly, every person, like watching this stream, would probably take white over black.
Probably.
I mean, if you win the pawn, it's clear you're better. If you don't, you're probably still better. So, like
knight d4 only move, right? So
knight d4 with the idea of knight d2.
Yeah. So you cannot take it yet, but I don't know, maybe moves like f3.
Also knight b3. Simple, right?
I'm not sure. Taking queen f5 maybe, but
okay, queen f5. I have time for b4 also.
Is b4 good for you?
Probably.
Wow.
I'm opening up the position for later, but let's see. You want g5, and I can get g3 in there later.
Queen f3, g3 idea type of stuff.
Wait, but if I go g4, I take. It's not so good. Okay, so Queen h6 was already played, but just for the sake of argument, let's look at this. I'm just trying to evaluate. I like b4, like as a concept. You have to take. I take.
a5.
Okay. Let's say here I can go queen d2 and induce g5. And just like your plan from earlier, in the right moment I can play d6. And I can also try to push c5 and get the pawn back. Like this position looks very dominating for white. And c5 will definitely win some material at some point. So knight b3 is an interesting option to keep everything together.
Yeah, f3 is also an idea.
With the threat of rook takes f4, but then after g5...
take on d4 and you have a very strong...
now I can take.
Yeah, and then you have a very, very strong position for the knight on e4 with a lot of pressure.
So something like this.
Yeah. And
yeah, but we are having too much fun. Let's look at the game for a moment. Rook e4, knight d4. Sorry, this wasn't played. Bishop h5 and rook e4. He did not play knight d4. He went queen h6. And now queen f3 was played pretty quickly. So black is clearly under some pressure. So g5 is the move to be checked.
Or you have queen g6, right? That's
So at this position, black wants queen g6 and h5. That's the only idea. g5 is the most obvious move for black. I don't see anything.
But on the other hand, one thing I like less for it, right? g5 eventually gives you an eternal weakness on f6,
but
right?
If you allow rook f4, you're just worse.
Yeah, that's for sure, right?
So this is the other option, but this is terrible. This is terrible position for black. And he went for it. I have to be careful with what I say, because then they can prove me wrong. So, knight d4, queen f4. But
maybe he's going for...
I don't know why he didn't like g5. I mean, I'm sure he didn't, because he would have played it otherwise. It's in his style to keep the pawn and to get some dynamics going, but there must be something specific.
Maybe he sees an idea with c6 after the exchange of queens, and d5 can be weak. That might be his idea, right? If you go back to what the game was played, knight d4, right, instead of g5, right? Queen f4, rook f4, and c6, right? The idea is to create a weakness on d5.
This doesn't work? No. Just wanted to check. Okay, so...
maybe it will work on another constellation.
If I had the rook on e3, or if I had the rook protected on e4.
On the other hand, maybe moves like knight f3 here will be very good. Or knight b3, either or.
Yeah, but I can exchange, and I think I'm okay.
Are you sure? Like with rook d3, rook d6, right?
It's hard to stop black from bringing his king to f6.
And then what?
And then, I mean, one rook will be free after I bring my king over. Let's see what happened in the game. So, queen f3, knight d4. He sacrificed the exchange. He doesn't want to go for the c6 line. And knight b3. Oh, he's making my dream come true. So he wants knight d4, knight c6. And we can all agree that if these two moves take place, white is better, right?
Yeah.
Because he will get back the exchange, he will have the better structure, f4 remains a weakness, and so on. So black...
white is not that much, like c5 is probably only move, d6 does not work.
Are you sure?
Queen d5, right? So
are you sure it's not working? It looks like a move that could very much work. Like, doesn't matter how you look at it, how you twist it. It looks like it should work.
Yeah. You also have queen d5 as well.
Yeah, but this one is crushing, right? Queen 8, Queen 8.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, so c5 is not possible. And if c5 is not possible, that means that the knight is coming.
And coming here, there on f5 also is a very good position for the knight.
It's very interesting to me that both players are choosing passive defense as a strategy. Like Nepomniachtchi chose it in this case with this b6 move earlier. Here, b6 instead of c6 and other moves. Needless to say, we don't check the position with the engine, so we don't know what's right. We don't know the evaluation, but it just feels like passive defense could be more challenging than just tackling the pawns quickly. Just like you suggested, this move c4, it's not a coincidence that you have this intuition to play actively. All the chess players in the world know that when they play passively, they have bad memories. So rook d8 makes sense. Now c6 is probably the move that needs to be checked, and sadly we were on a break, and we didn't... I feel like Ross from Friends, you know? Like, yeah. We were on a break and we didn't manage to actually guess.
I grew up watching Married with Children, so and El Bundy has
Me too. I was 7 years old, and I remember while I was watching El Bundy, you know, with his hand, watching with the remote, I was looking at the subtitles, and I was reading the subtitles in Hebrew, and I was very surprised with myself that I keep track of the words because I didn't know that I can read that fast.
Yeah,
it was like a discovery, you know.
Things you were way younger than I was, right? So
yeah. So at 7, I didn't understand any of the jokes, but I was very happy to just read, you know. So the game after knight b3, I wanted to show another example from round 2, where Ding chose a passive continuation versus the active defense. So let's have a look at that for a moment. In that game, once again, just for fun, I'll challenge my memory with the bad move order. So let's suppose that the game continued something along these lines. Can't remember the exact. So a4, and here knight a5 was played quickly, which was a big surprise for me. Now knight c5 was fascinating, and Ding thought for more than half an hour.
Bishop c5, bishop takes f3.
Yeah, but here there are two strong moves for black that Ding was probably afraid of. It's like bishop e4 after you take is extremely scary because, like practically speaking, because the bishop has a hard time coming out. And probably,
well, I would probably take the queen first, right? Because queen c2, yeah, right.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So the point, I'm not sure if I take the queen first. I'm not sure. I don't remember what I checked, but here queen c2. Yeah, you're probably right. I forgot all the analysis already, but here I have queen d4, which also looks good. So yeah, so probably I have to take. So this position, if you play bishop d2, knight b3 is really good. Yes.
Very annoying.
Yes. So the best move for white was c6, and we'll look at this some other time if we want.
Yeah.
But like white doesn't feel too comfortable. With, like, he can equalize, of course, or maybe try for a slightly more pleasant position, but it's not difficult for black. What I wanted to say is that Ding thought for a long time, was afraid to make this move, which was probably correct. He played knight f6, and Jan made an amazingly good practical decision. G takes f6, e4, and now this c4 move. And now in this position, after this, okay, there are many options to develop the pieces, but Ding chose the passive option of playing the bishop on d2, then something like rook g8, And now instead of queen e2 and being flexible with like rook c1 and bishop e1, knight d2 or something like that, he chose rook c1, and here he played bishop d3, rook e1, and bishop back to c2. Like, I don't know what he missed, but black had an abundance of good moves, not only the move f5 that was played in the game, with this nice tactic of mating white. Yeah. So basically, f5 was played, bishop back to c2. So in this position, I wanted to mention that in that game, after the move knight c6 by Jan, practically only move was bishop g5, and then this exchange sack. So here, they play this move f6, knight f3. So in this position, Ding went for rook d2. And I felt like this was a very passive move, because after bishop d6, I don't know what he missed. c3 and c2 come with tempi, and he just resigned after like, I don't know, was it like three more moves even. King h1, c3, takes, rook d4, e5 resigns, something along these lines. Rook d4, c2, queen h6, e5 resigns. So instead of this, even though he's obviously worse, he can try for rook c1. I mean, not worse, he's obviously losing. Rook c1 still resists a bit longer. And also, I wanted to say that in this position, you can try knight h7, even though it probably loses. It's like, so what I'm trying to say is that in a practical game that's not the World Championship, a person would understand that he is close to losing and would revert to changing the nature of the position. But in that game, he just played the most direct moves that he could think of, and he lost without any chances. And this is not something typical for Ding. So, for example, if we talk about Karyakin, who's famous for his defensive skills, I'm sure that somewhere along these lines, let's say after f5, which I know not by now that this is already -3 for black. If Karyakin was playing it, he would come up with an active way to keep something together and challenge black for a little bit longer, and most likely. And maybe here, instead of this blunderful move rook e1, he could play something else. So for example, queen e1 here, or the next move, would have granted him more chances of activity because he keeps everything together a little bit more efficiently. So all I'm trying to say is that both players tend to play relatively passively in this match, which goes to show something about how they feel. It's like they are both a little bit afraid to take unnecessary risks. So g5 was played.
94 comes.
We have a peak of 4 viewers at this moment.
Yay.
Knight takes d4 is not played yet. It was played. Queen g6, and well, knight c6 is the one option.
The obvious one.
Yeah, but I mean, the queen g6 move hints at counterplay over here. So if knight c6, we can be sure that black is not going to give up without a fight. He's not going to just play passively and let white crush him. So queen c2 is what we can expect.
Yeah, but the question is if you even...
So for this reason, I was wondering, maybe it's better to prevent queen c2 altogether. Just go queen c3.
The question if the queen c2 is the idea, or do you want to play h5 g4, right? So
yeah, so if I play queen c3, and then black plays, let's say h5 or something, knight c6, then what happens now?
g4.
Let's say h4, g3.
Yeah.
I take.
Oh, and then you have, like, I would take on e7 first.
Here you have rook g7, yeah?
Yeah, but
so
g3 take on e7, then take on g3.
This looks really bad for black.
Yeah.
Here, let's suppose I go rook and queen e1. It looks funny. Yeah. So just queen c3 is one option, and the other option is to go for knight c6 immediately. And Yeah.
I'm even wondering, knight c6, queen c2, like if the direct line like knight takes c7 and d6 just works, just crushes, right? Knight takes c7, knight takes c7, rook takes d6, cd6, queen 8, h-jack, queen d8, right? And I
Yeah, it
don't
does.
see a move.
It does work. Yeah, so there's no problem with knight c6. What do you do after h5?
Do I have the same idea? No, I don't, because
The queen protects this
yeah.
square. But Ding goes for a very thematic move that we didn't think. It's probably
G4.
beyond our level, yeah.
I don't know, it was the next thing I was thinking about, right? So,
Yeah. I tend to miss this kind of thematic moves. When I see the option to play knight c6 and I feel like I'm better, it's hard to come up with an even better move.
yeah.
But the point now is to put the knight on f5, most likely.
Yeah, and also like f5 is a deadly thing, and
Now f5 will not come, and white has all the time in the world to improve. Like even if h5 comes, we can completely ignore it and go knight f5.
basically zero moves for black, right?
No, but rook h7 is coming if we let him. But then he doesn't have place for the rest of the pieces because the king cannot really move.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. So he took on g3. As my friend likes to say, en passant.
Yeah.
Did you see the game? He en passant him. Like he was like, he calls me very excited. Jan was en passant. Like, I really love the beginner chess aficionados who just take, like, it's like once when I was a grandmaster and playing a beginner opponent, I was completely crushing him. At some point, he exchanged queens when he's two rooks down. He's like, yeah, I exchanged queens with a grandmaster. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know this was an achievement.
What lower rated players don't understand it, most of the times they have way more chances winning with a queen than without. Right?
Yeah, but like he's playing a different game. I thought we are supposed to get the king, and they have this like a video game, all these random achievements that they save in their memory card. Yeah, of course.
And,
And queen e3 is coming probably.
g4 first, right? So
yeah, but maybe black will go g4.
yeah, so that's why like my thing was maybe playing g4 here was a little bit better, but
I trust Ding that it wasn't, but let's check. Let's check. I don't think we can argue that it was better without understanding the difference. So, I mean, knight f5 might have a concrete idea. Yeah, rook h7. Because if g4 h4 or vice versa, then maybe this knight is very crushing. So queen d3, for example, or queen e4 threatens knight e7 and ends black's hopes of opening up the position. So, but I'm not sure, like, if I like what the Ding has chosen, like knight c6, rook g7. Maybe we misevaluated this. Maybe this is just good for black.
I love what Ding is doing because the knight on f5 is just better than the knight on c6. It has triple the purpose because it controls both the e7, g7, h6.
Yeah. I have to mention, by the way, I forgot, that around 14 years ago, I can't remember exactly the date, Ding was rated like 2400 or even less. I remember it because I was, at that time, it's like the only time in my life when I was higher rated than Ding. FIDE-wise, or at least the same rating. I mean, Ding was probably 200 points better than me, just like always, or nowadays probably 300 points. But he was rated 23 something, 90 or 2410, and he beat everyone in the Chinese championship, all the 2700s. And every other game he had this amazing exchange sacrifice. And I remember, like, at the time I was admiring Kramnik for his beautiful exchange sacrifices. And then when Ding showed up, I had a new hero, you know? Yeah. And it's like...
And I would still take Petrosyan over it, but...
I don't think that that Petrosyan nowadays versus Ding nowadays, like if you once again borrow Petrosyan's prime to these days, I think Ding would still get more exchange sacrifices because people are not as bad as they used to be. It's like they won't let you sacrifice the exchange as much. And yeah, but it's really hard to evaluate this position. Like, it feels like white should be better, but once again, if I was white,
like feels for me like white is crushing.
yes, yes, but how? Like, I wish I could find up.
Let's just like think of moves like g4 with white just for the sake of it, of getting an extra like extra pressure, right? G4, free to liberate the queen, go queen a3, maybe d6 can be coming.
So, first of all, we don't want black to get g4, h4, because then the knight will be
hanging. Right?
hanging. We don't want to keep an eye on this knight. Unless we want to play something like queen e4, king wherever, and then rook f1 at some point. Like this could be a good position for the rook. But it's not so easy to understand how to break through later on. So probably, and we also don't want to rush with g4 because then we give him the open file for counterplay.
But I don't see the counterplay. That's the thing.
Because now you control all the squares, but maybe not forever. I mean, yeah, you're right. You can bring another piece.
The knight on f5 is crushing.
Yeah.
And like, unless you want to sacrifice back with rook h4.
Let's put g4 on the board.
Yeah, like the only idea I can see for black is something like rook h4, trying to
generate counterplay.
Yeah,
but I can take it, even though you don't like it. It's still quite obvious that it's better.
Yeah. Like, no doubt in my mind is better, but I'm thinking of moves like
bring the king.
Yeah,
bring the king to g3. But queen h7 is coming.
Queen h7. I'm not worried right now because I think I have an extra, like, queen cannot take because of rook h1, and then f6 is hanging. So
okay. So yeah, king g2 is nice. I like it. So g4 is one option. Let's search for ideas. So another option that we always have to take into account is d6. I'm sure Ding is considering it. I'm not saying that it's a good move right now, but just as an idea, you have to take. No one would argue with that. And then I take. And my point is that the rook doesn't have a good square, normally speaking. I mean, I wish I had my pawn on g4 now. But so let's look at it in a different angle. So let's say I play g4. Let's say we go here and back. Okay, just for example. So by now, d6 would be an interesting idea to break through, because after takes, if you go here, I can checkmate you, basically, almost checkmate you.
Yeah.
So, and if you go sideways, I have e7.
Right.
So
queen c6 is a threat.
Yes, queen c6 is a threat. Even I would argue that like c5 could be a threat, you know, if you open up the files for me to penetrate with the rook later on. And even knight e8 could be a threat, you know. So this could be like the way to go. Let's say if you get something like this, it could be potentially winning. Let's say queen f5 or something, rook d1.
I'm actually not.
You can take on rook d8, right?
Rook c8, I think. But I know, but rook d1 is a very good move.
No, rook d8 is a problem. Yeah. Okay, so we have queen e4 on the board. So queen e4 was played. That's a fun position to analyze. Knight e7 is a major threat, with the idea of taking the queen.
King h8 looks like
king h8. And now...
So there's an ugly move of rook g7, but it's...
I mean, king f8 is probably not good, right?
e7 looks...
I come back. Technically I can take, can't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just feels wrong because of the diagonal here can come at any moment, but yeah.
Rook f1.
Yeah. So queen e4, let's suppose your king h8 takes place. Now,
Rook f1.
the question is whether we allow g4 or we play g4 ourselves. So probably the most important thematic question in this position. This was magic. Did you see the king moved without me pressing anything?
I would still go probably with rook f1, because you, as the attacking side, you might want to leave a little bit more weaknesses, right? And potentially, if you play g4, h4, h5 can be a weakness.
So we have some quick moves. Yeah, king h8 was played. So what did you say? Sorry.
Rook f1. With
Rook f1.
The idea of like if potentially, right, black plays g4, you play h4.
Yeah.
Right, and h5 is a potential weakness.
Yeah.
That black needs to defend. Right.
Yeah.
Obviously, h4, g4, life is good. Right?
Yeah.
And the idea is queen d4, and you also pressure the f6 pawn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So now after king h8, it's white to move.
Rook f1, but I guess only.
So there is the g4 idea, then there is the rook f1 or any other useful move, and the main question is the plan. And I remember reading analysis by world champions of the past. For example, Alekhine, he would write, "Oh, so here I understood it. I have this plan of bringing the rook to f1, doubling the queen behind the rook. Then I bring the king to the other side. Then I have to do h4, so provoke g4. Then I have to attack f6 by bringing the knight to e4." And he would write like this 6-stage plan and pretend that he calculated everything now. You know? Yeah. When Carlsen, for example, who's arguably better than Alekhine, would just do like this, you know, without pretending to know everything.
But it's the deeper understanding of my pieces should be standing in those positions.
Yeah.
And you want to sort of see the future of what the optimal setup is, right? And optimal setup will say at some point either pressure on f6 right now or to play g4 and to see the right time to play d6.
Yeah.
Right. If this is your winning plan, this is what you're hoping for. But if you have played queen e4,
e7, wow, I wouldn't have thought about this.
No, so, maybe it's just something very, very specific right now, right? So,
I mean, he can't play e7 if he's not sure.
Yeah.
This is a committal move. Like, if you don't do anything, you're still better, even if you're not necessarily winning yet later on. You're better, you have winning chances. Because black is very passive, probably. Like, these rooks are not going anywhere anytime soon. So e7 must have a specific idea. So let's try to understand what is being threatening in this very moment.
It is very hard
it probably is going for some Zugzwang like idea, because if queen f7 then d6 wins.
Right?
Let's show. Queen f7 d6 takes. You should take with the queen and then have this knight d8 move, which is nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so queen f7 is out of the question. Let's say you can add these moves at any time you wish and ignore it for the time being. So the queen doesn't have many squares, only g8. The rook doesn't have many squares, because if you go with the rook to f7, knight d6
could come. You need to calculate it, right?
So let's calculate. So
knight d6.
Maybe d6.
How does d6?
Doesn't work.
No, but let's say knight d6, queen e4, right? Knight takes f7, king g7.
Okay, so let's check this. d6 and queen c6 could work, or not? Oh no, you have rook somewhere. This could theoretically work. Rook h7. I wish I had my pawn on g4 in moments like this.
You can always add it, right? So
oh no, I don't need it actually. Just win. right? Queen g8. Stubborn. Okay, let's check. So that's not rush. Rook f7. That's another option. If you move the rook from the e pawn, then I go d6 later and I make progress, right? So
maybe rook f7 and just have queen e6.
There's also this king move that needs to be taken into account.
Yeah, but here d6
and queen check.
Queen e6 check.
Probably even here.
What's the difference?
So if queen here, I can go rook e6. Probably. And then I have two threats, like this and that. I don't know. We'll see. King moves. Queen d6.
Yeah, knight d6 probably, just easy.
No, but rook e7.
Yeah, I have the check.
And queen g8 again.
Yeah.
No, but rook e6 is also just crushing probably. And queen d6 later, or g4. Probably g4 is also a very good move. In any case, like just to prepare all this stuff.
And then basically.
So we're just making the point that after the move e7 that was played, Jan is not able to move a lot of his pieces. Kasparov would say that this pawn is cutting through black's position. Like all of the black pieces cannot reach the queen side. You know, this rook can. Let's do it like this. This rook cannot move. This rook can't reach the queen side. This queen cannot reach the queen side. So it kind of cuts all of black's pieces in half. You know, they have to stay in this area. They can't escape it.
Yeah, well,
so if you can lock the position up somehow and then start playing on the queen side, then everything will collapse. You just search for a second weakness or something. So anyway, the e7 looks like a very crushing move. And now the question is, what's white's follow-up? And
maybe just queen e6, queen d7.
Yeah. I wish to point out a flaw of the move e7, just one flaw that has to be noticed. If for any reason we get something along these lines for later on, white would regret having his pawn on e7. He would much rather have it protected by the pawn chain on e6 because it will just be picked up by black. So white committed himself to not just taking the exchange and liquidating to a rook versus rook endgame with the pawn on e7. So black did play queen f7. So it just goes to show that there are not many moves available for black right now. Yeah. And even if he, played a5 after a4, he doesn't have any pawn moves left.
Yeah.
So it's almost going to be a Zugzwang later.
Yeah,
e7. So
queen f7, d6 was looking like winning, right?
Yeah, but we have to understand that Jan is not allowing it for nothing. So maybe he has a point. Like maybe here he wants to go queen g8. I mean, he must have something in mind if you played queen f7. Queen g8 looks like the only option, to be honest.
It still looks ugly from him. Knight takes e8. Queen takes e8. Right.
Well, I want to attack f6 at this point.
Yeah.
And while I do so, I don't think you have any piece that can defend it. Don't you?
No,
only the king. So if you bring the king, then I have...
so queen f5 in this position?
Yes, and now king g7 is the only move as far as I can tell. And maybe rook f7, but it looks ugly.
Queen d7 here. Or not, right? Because you have rook h8.
Not yet is the precise term. Yeah, but here, what about rook e6? This looks like a solid approach. This looks very close.
Rook h6.
Yeah, and now if black was on move, then it would probably collapse, right? You can just probably go a3 or something. It would be a very funny finish to the game if they just played a3 and they would resign.
Yeah, but I have rook g6, so it's not...
Yeah, but maybe there is some difference in the position suddenly. So let's say I moved my queen and you're far away.
This is also the idea. When rook is on g6, queen b5 wins.
No, but there's queen takes e6.
No, because you take with the knight and check, and then give it an x.
With king h6, I mean, it's risky. But this looks fine. I mean, the same idea that you have, but with the queen on c6.
Yeah.
So this is obviously losing, regardless of the variations, because it's very passive and there are no squares. So queen g8, queen f5 looks nice. We are sure that Ding is calculating it. He's been thinking for like the past 3 minutes out of his remaining 16 for the next 4 moves. In 4 moves, he will receive an hour. So after queen f7, d6 is to be expected. That's like the natural follow-up to e7. Let's see if we're missing anything concrete. It will feel a shame if we suddenly miss a very obvious move.
b7 is a threat, right? So unless you have a crazy tactics.
No, there is none. Takes. And now queen has to move.
Yeah.
Queen g8. Queen f5 is a very natural follow-up.
Yeah.
Now, none of your pieces can move. I mean, the queen and the rook cannot move. This rook can move here or this king here.
Yeah, so just showing the variation. If rook takes e8, e7, sorry, you have queen f6 check, right, and rook e8 at the end of the variation. That's crushing. Rook e8 is winning.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm sure there are even prettier moves that exist. But
but if
rook e8 is the simplest. Yeah.
If you take with the second rook, right, with the this one, right.
This is just over, right?
Yeah, this is just over because
queen g7 is the only move, and I take.
You take, and then you take on e8
with check.
Check. That's an important part.
Yes.
So that's important to show. So after, if I don't see a defense like what we were looking at, right?
Okay, rook h6 or king g7. We can try to predict it by this point.
Rook h6, right? Queen d7 looks very annoying.
Yeah, this is crushing. So king g7 is the only move, and if queen d7, rook h8.
So but that's why we said rook.
Oh, by the way, rook f1 isn't it just easily over?
Rook h6.
And now queen d7 because I don't block my own queen.
No, but look, rook h8.
And now I want to have this fancy mate, with this. Yeah, it doesn't work, but I wish. Okay, d6 and queen g8 on the board. So let's try to predict the end. Okay, took on e8. He doesn't even bother playing queen f5, so he must have seen something extremely concrete. And queen e6. He doesn't even care about the details.
I saw the king g7, rook d1, right?
And rook h6, rook d1. So it's probably going to resign after queen e6. Oh my goodness. I feel so bad for criticizing Ding's c5 decision because, as I mentioned also in the break, even if it's not the best move, as a chess fan I should root for such moves to be played because then we can study from the game and maybe learn something about my bad evaluations. And also it's much more fun to watch and analyze, so we should be grateful. Like I feel like such a prick, for criticizing a move that should be played 100% of the time, at all circumstances. Even if it loses, I would rather see him lose like this than having a boring draw with a slightly better position that is the right choice. New type of chess, domination. No more slight advantage by stockfish, 0.7 that wins easily 9 out of 10 times by Karpov. No more. We're not there for the safety. So king g7 was played. We can expect your rook d1 to be shown.
Right. So you have an
King
ugly
d6.
move of king g6, right? And then not queen e4 check, I think.
Oh, I want to check.
Queen e4 check
Yeah.
looks better.
And I think rook d7 is enough, isn't it?
Rook d7.
I mean, you barely have a legal move to be making.
And then just like there, you take on a7. And you literally can do you take on a7 and win with the a pawn later on after playing.
Oh no, he played rook f1. It doesn't even want any of this. So you suggested a very interesting rook d1 move that seemed obvious to me. Before you said it, I was sure rook f1 is the move, but I liked your suggestion better. Now rook h6 was played instantly. Let's see, the queen cannot move, the king cannot move, right? The rook has this square for the next move. And now rook d1. Oh, that's smart. Nice, because now the king cannot move. There's no attack on e7, no matter what you do. So probably f5 is the last resort at this point, which was played. Queen e5. Wait, let me see. King f7.
And queen f5. Right.
If rook f6, king h7.
Queen h7, right.
Okay. I wish I could see the video. Let's check the official stream. For watching, we have a new pick. And I didn't publish this link anywhere. Next time I'll publish it. Maybe only if I have more than 5 viewers, it will show me on Lichess. Yeah. Okay, let's see. I want to see their faces. So, right now, is this the video or is it a picture? Yeah, it is the video. Yeah.
I understand that he's lost, right? So.
Before f5 was played, I want to see. Yeah, Ding doesn't seem surprised by the move f5, you see?
Yeah.
But he may have missed f5. I mean, he was very, very much rushing earlier.
I think like rook f5 would have been a way nicer way to finish it.
Here?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
rook g6. Right.
Let's see. Maybe let's focus on the game to see if there is a fourth win that.
Okay. When queen e5 check, right, and then.
So now, okay. Let's see. Queen e5. Only move king f7. Otherwise, rook d8 comes. Okay.
F5.
Queen f5. Only move is rook f6.
Right. Then queen h7 probably.
Okay. Only move is king e6.
Rook d8.
And queen e7.
Oh, you don't have the check on e4. Sorry. So. Rook e1 check just for the like.
I mean, probably now you're not threatening this because of rook check.
Yeah.
So I have an extra move to be making.
Rook d5.
Yeah. I don't think queen h7 is the most clean. At least not necessarily. But it does look good. I mean, I wish I had my rook on e1. Can I just put it there? No, you have rook f6. Okay.
Yeah, but queen.
I'm just looking for something forcing. Okay, let's do this.
Rook e1 now.
Wait, with the king here, you don't have anything going for you. How do I win with the forcing move? So he did play queen e5. So let's see. I really want to find something easy. So let's calculate this for a moment.
Yeah, you also have a very interesting rook d8, queen e7, queen d3.
Yeah, but this is a bit risky. Okay, this is on the board. We are expected to see rook f6.
Yeah.
I can't see. Like, imagine that you have 2 minutes in a rapid game.
Yeah, but I think of like check.
You can easily mess it up, right?
Yeah, like you have like as an idea, rook d8, queen
yes,
e7,
yes.
queen d3. I want to give you a mate over here,
Hi.
right? I want to give you a queen d5 mate. Now you have rook f5. Annoying.
Yes.
But
Rook
still,
f5.
g4.
G4. No, that's too complicated.
No, why complicated? Let's go back to that.
Let's search for something extremely forced, like just doesn't give a
G4 here.
Wait, I'm sorry for being so excited, but what if I go for queen somewhere? What do you do here? Just for example.
No, the position is so bad. Like,
yeah, but here, does black have any legal move that makes sense? Probably can move the rook.
So my idea was just
sorry. Let's do your idea.
rook d8, right? Your
take queen here.
d3, yeah.
And here king rook d7.
Rook d7, right? And rook f5, only move g4. You have queen c5.
But it's needlessly complicated. That's my point. Rook d8.
So maybe just like.
Oh, they got an hour already after king e6. So we can think here for an hour. That's a lovely position to sit. Okay, so let's search for. Now that we have an hour, we can pretend
rook d5.
We saw everything. So black to move doesn't want anything besides. I don't know, rook f5.
Rook d5 might be a very strong move.
Yeah, that's the most natural move in terms of domination. And now queen e7 loses to rook e5. And in this position, the only piece that can move is probably the rook, right?
I don't see where.
But the queen a4, does it work? Probably not. Let's check queen a4 for a start.
Do you have any checks you're threatening with king e4? No. Right, rook d8. I'm just winning.
Easy, huh?
Yeah, but so.
Queen c6.
Queen c6. You will have a check, but. Do I have a mate with queen g8? No. No, I don't. I was thinking queen d8, but no.
Let's think in a more simple fashion. So here, what's the most simple move that I can think of? Okay, let's suggest g4 straight away. That was my first intuition.
The idea like hg4, hg4, rook f4, right? That's the logical.
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to give you a check, and I think I'm winning now with queen g5 or queen h5.
I played queen g7.
Oh, he played my other move. I like to take credit. So queen g7, the immediate threat is rook e1, so it forces the rook. I love the fact that he has an hour and 5 minutes, and he thinks for 3 minutes, I'm winning queen g7. I mean, I wouldn't be so confident even if I was at Kasparov's level. I would sit for like 20 minutes like a good boy to make sure what's the best way. So I really want to see, queen g7. Yeah. So now, It's amazing how the number of viewers has increased. Like everyone are excited and going on the stream that they see. Not for our stream, but you see, like there is for every viewer that we have, like the official stream has like 1,000. It's nice.
Still not enough.
Sorry, 10,000.
That's better.
Yeah. Okay, Queen G7. Now Rook F5 is the move that we can anticipate. If Rook G6, Queen F8. That's the idea. Okay. So Rook F5. I think Queen H6 is the point simply, right? That's the most direct.
Yeah.
Now,
we missed, probably.
yeah. Because we found it with the G4, so now we remember it, so we can come up with it. So now, the key is that you can never go King F7 because of Queen H5. So you have to go here.
Check. Rook E1 check.
Yeah, and that's obviously finished because of the same reasons. Oh, that's
Queen H7 mate is a little stronger, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's the same motive. So what did he play? He probably knows he's lost, so he played quickly. Rook G6. Rook G6 is the only move.
Yeah, we said Queen F8.
Queen F8. Let's have a look. Rook G8.
Well, Queen F3 looks crushing. Or just Rook you do it with checks, right? There's a cute idea, although like it could be Rook D8 and take with it and make it a knight with check.
Yeah. Here. I mean, the queen is also working perfectly well.
Yeah.
Probably leaves you with more pieces also.
Yeah, probably.
Rook D8.
Take on G8 and bring in Rook D8. It's a bit better, probably. Yeah, Queen F8.
This is better, you think? This?
Yeah.
I don't like this to be considered better. I agree that it's more forcing, but I mean, this doesn't really leave any chance. Okay, Queen F8 on the board. I'm wondering if he actually will play Rook G8 or not.
Probably he will resign, but...
Wow.
And we will be leveled again, which
is exciting.
Exciting, and
I like it when someone is ahead, though, because then the games must be interesting. But only one side tries to make it interesting. Maybe now both of them will try.
We'll see. Like I don't see Jan getting any advantages with white, so it is an interesting thing to see. The day off is probably going to be good for both, and to try to reevaluate where things are going. But yeah, no, it is an open match after all, and a long way to go.
Mm-hmm. What are we expecting to see now?
Resigning, right?
Yeah.
With the look on Jan's face right now.
Yeah, it's in the past. He resigned already.
Yeah. Resigned, yeah.
After Queen F8. So let's see. Yeah, it's very exciting. A win for Liren with the white pieces. And yeah, I feel bad for thinking about his decision as bad, because who knows if he would have won in the slightly better position that I was voting for. And the exchange sacrifice will probably go down in history as one of the most interesting games played in recent years. Like
to that extent,
but this kind of exchange sacrifice, let's say if Ding ends up winning the event, it will probably
this will be the one remembered. This definitely.
This is the kind of the diagram that will be mentioned in all the chess articles and so on, chess news sites and people like on their YouTube videos and so on. Yeah, we talked about it for many years.
When the world champion in 50 years from now is gonna ride another my greatest processors.
You will talk about the 15 side.
Yeah, maybe. As well.
My greatest 30 years old or less predecessors.
Yeah.
Yes.
How old is Ding now?
He is exactly my year of birth, which is 1992, and so is Caruana. So
what about Jan?
Jan is 1990, together with Vashier, Karyakin, and Carlsen, of course.
And Max
Max Carlsen, I think, is 89, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but he's also
he was competing against Vashier youth
and David Howell.
Yeah, so
yeah,
a lot of good players.
Yes, after Queen F8, White has won. Let's move to the official board that we can see. You can see the 1-0 somewhere. We forgot to update it. Let's see. Yeah, now it's updated. So you can see the 1-0 next to Ding's name on the left. And wow, this is very exciting, and we are very happy to see a decisive result. I mentioned I was rooting for Ding, so I'm very happy, and I'm probably going to watch the press conference to see what silly questions they will ask them now. And yeah. Yes.
How cold is it outside?
Yes, yes.
Things like that, right?
Yes. I'm guessing. Let's guess the question. Like they would probably ask Jan Nepomniachtchi, like, how are you going to prepare for the next games now that you have lost the game? What is your strategy going to be now? With which opening will you play? Like, I can't reveal this information. So yeah, so I will take advantage of this opportunity to say thank you very much for Peter, and obviously you're always welcome to join any streams or videos that I do.
For having me, and maybe we'll see what's up.
And we will see everyone in the next rounds of the World Chess Championship.